Good morning, everyone. For those that don't know me, my name is Vicki Poole, and I'm a certified life coach, a certified hypnotherapist. And today I have an amazing person that I'm going to interview because what I've really been wanting to do lately, and I've done a few other interviews, is to offer some assistance to you as things that people that do that may not be my expertise, and it gives you another person to go to for help. So her name is Michelle. Is it McKown? Is that how you say it?
McKown Campbell.
McKown Campbell. Okay.
Yeah.
So she is an amazing motivational speaker, a change maker, and I have such wonderful feelings of warmthness for her because we've been doing some different things together. We've been talking and playing these little games with our psyche and what we're doing. So she has just been pivotal in helping me. And I think we are kind of helping one another when it comes to that. But I have a question I want to start this off with, and you'll have to forgive me. I
Okay.
will be looking at my notes because I had a few written down that I want to make sure that I hit, because in your bio that I shared with everybody, you said you were a global movement maker, and then you were wanted to transition 1 million young adults. And I'm thinking, wow, 1 million, that's a lot. So tell me what that means, because it must be really, really important to you since it's in your bio.
Oh, it's absolutely important to me. Thank you so much for having me here, Vicky.
My
It's an
pleasure.
absolute pleasure being here. And hello, everybody. Oh my goodness, my absolute life purpose is about connecting young people to the awesomeness that they carry already within. And where I'm talking about creating successful futures for these individuals, I really want them to understand that even at the age of 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, they have so much to offer this world. It's just the beginning of their journey, but they're not starting from zero.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm talking about, yes, 1 million young people, it's a lot, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But you think of the ripple of that. So if we think about every classroom, every college classroom, every high school classroom, I really believe this is a life skill to connect into everything that they have. So their life experience, what they've learned, how they've contributed in their communities and their families. If they could understand how that makes them truly incredible, how that gives them the gifts to succeed in life, what a world it would be. And I just think so often we, as youngsters, we're told, no, I was one of the youngsters that was very lost, very disappointed, very disillusioned with where I was heading. I had no plan. I really didn't understand this world at all. If someone could have said, don't worry, because you've got this, and that's going to get you the next step ahead, I just would have loved that opportunity. And although I had the most amazing family around me and support system, that was missing for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I want to do what I do, is because when I speak to these young people and they connect into what is today, not when they get this certification or they get that item of clothing or they earn that amount of money, but what they are today, when they can truly see that actually I've got something to offer here, you see a light bulb go on. And that's just magic.
Mm.
That's just
Well, there's
magic.
a lot of us adults that need to be in that place as well. So you're really talking primarily that you're going to be working, or you work a lot with students in the classroom setting, and that's kind of how you get out your content to people. Am I understanding that right? Or explain that
So
to me.
yeah, so at the moment I work as a mentor to young middle school and high schoolers that unfortunately are going through the juvenile justice system. They've been referred to me. And I work through another organization for that.
Mm-hmm.
But that is putting them through a life skills program. Again, connecting them to today,
Mm-hmm.
not the story that comes with them and the baggage, but actually, who are you going to be today?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to be today? Show me that person.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of my work is doing workshops with this group, middle schoolers, high schoolers, and graduates. Now, a lot of my experience is HR and recruitment. So a lot of my work in the past has been about working with people around resume writing, preparing for the world of work, interview skills and techniques. Well, if you don't understand who you are and what you have to offer, how could you possibly promote yourself to be the best version of you, to really communicate to an employer what gifts you have, what value you have? How could you start work or move into college if you don't understand the value that you have and the difference you can make from the very beginning?
True.
And I think so often youngsters are turning up feeling lack.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to learn, they've got to do before they are anything. Well, no, I can seriously show through the work that I do that in a very short space of time, these youngsters are connecting and seeing that they do have a voice, but they also have their own responsibility to make the right choices.
Nice.
They have to take responsibility for that. And they have gifts and tools to be able to do that.
Yeah. I want to go back to something you said just a moment ago. It just hit me because you were saying that growing up, that if somebody had said to you, you have this, this, and this, it would have made a big difference for you. So looking at that, what would this, and this have been that they would have told you?
Oh my goodness, that I just had a place in this world. That would be the first. I belonged.
Mm-hmm.
I was seen. Is absolutely critical. If I think back to my young teenage years, I was completely lost. I lived, and I'm talking, I had two loving parents. My dad was from Jamaica, my mum was from England, or is, both of them are from those two places. But they were two different worlds. So my very first memories, when I think back now with the work that I've done on me,
Mm-hmm.
I had a black dad, a white mum. I have a twin brother that was white with platinum blonde hair.
Oh, wow.
And me, dark as dark can be, in the other side of the pram. And my first memories are that person going, oh, trying to work out how this could happen. My dad was in the RAF, so he was very rarely around. So my mum had these two mixed race children, and for added craziness, a cat underneath, apparently called Winnie. So I was constantly being looked at. We were being looked at as a unit of how does, who, what, where.
Mm-hmm.
So
How
I
does that
really
fit?
felt, how does that all fit? So I really felt growing up that I just didn't fit. And then if you think about the two families, they're two completely different cultures. I would sit and think, well, I don't look like that and I don't sound like that, so I don't fit there. And I don't look like that and I don't sound like that. I just was lost. I went to boarding school, so we were very much on our own because my dad was in the forces. And again, I was just constantly trying to find my place, my voice. Painfully shy. And now I know that literally, as I was growing up, the thoughts I was having were creating the shame inside me. So I would block those feelings off, those thoughts off, and I literally shut myself down. And I joke now that, my name is Michelle. I spent so many years literally right at the back of my shell like a turtle, kind of peering out, but afraid to connect. I was just existing in this world that didn't make any sense. And I think there are lots of youngsters that are absolutely, on the surface, you would think they're doing okay. It might be a little up and down, but inside they are absolutely screaming to be seen, screaming to be heard. But these are kids that they think they are showing. Now, I thought people should notice. Why can't you see that I'm not happy? I wasn't showing it. I really wasn't able to connect in that way. So I truly believe that the work that I do is about giving people an opportunity to be seen, be heard, and just be without judgment. There's absolutely no judgment. You show me who you are today, because that person, you can be anything you want to be.
Yes. And you know that that kind of brings me thinking of I remember seeing, and I don't remember the particulars, but I remember seeing a thing about a commencement ceremony. And the person who was speaking at this ceremony, it was actually a student. So I guess that maybe they were valedictorian, I don't know. But anyway, they were saying that their freshman year in high school, that they had been really, really depressed. They didn't fit in. They didn't know who they were or anything. And that one day they had all of their books in their hand and they were walking out of the school, and they dropped some books, and somebody stopped and helped them with the books, and then kind of walked with them because they didn't live far from them. They walked home, they talked, they chatted, and they just had a really good connection that one day. And it was pivotal in how it changed the trajectory of their lives, because they shared at this commencement that they actually had all their books in their hands because they were completely planning on committing suicide when they got home, and they didn't want to leave the stuff in the locker, and the parents have to take care of it. And I don't know if you've heard this one as well.
No.
But it was like, and it still gets me emotional, but we don't know what somebody else is going through. And there's so many times, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
There's so many times that we can be a voice or just a smile or, something to someone and create a whole different life for them. And so I love what you're talking about, because there are so many young people who suffer today. I mean, there's so much bullying on social media. There's so many things that, as I was growing up, I never had to experience. I mean, the only bullying you could get, and luckily I didn't have any, but was just in your little circle of people, and now it can happen. It can come at you from all over the world. And so the things that young people are bombarded with to feel guilty about or to feel inadequate about is just amazing. And so, and I know I kind of probably popped off of the topic completely, but
No.
it's it just is such so profound to think of. One little thing that you do can make such a difference for one person. And I know in this commencement that I'm speaking of, and it's been a long time since I've seen this. I wish I could go back and find it. And I don't know if I can Google and find it, but if I can, I will share it.
Yeah, please do.
But she actually was very well liked, as she gets to this place. And so she had a whole different set of friends, and she just all of a sudden was connected, and it made such a difference in her life, her family's life. The people around her would have been very devastated with her loss, and she felt like there was no purpose for her to be there. So
absolutely,
that's
so I just absolutely it.
Yeah,
no, that's absolutely it, because I was that girl. I was absolutely that girl. I truly thought that if I disappeared off this earth, nobody would notice. They wouldn't notice. I sat for hours waiting, thinking that is it. I was ready to leave this place. I don't know to this day what it was that snapped me. Somebody mentioned the other day, shame and guilt. Guilt is where you're thinking of others. Shame is very much I am. All the things that you're not. It must have been that guilt that somehow got me out of that. But that's exactly where I was. And then I spent a lifetime running as far as I could away from who I was, terrified to be who I did. I just didn't want to know who I was. I just couldn't see that. I couldn't understand that. And because of that, I became a chameleon. I lived in all kinds of worlds and communities with people. I experienced, I literally went through, all kinds of craziness. And, the usual: drink, drugs,
Just
wrong
trying to
crowds of
fit in, you
people,
mean?
just trying to fit in and trying to find me. But I just built this wall. Nobody was going to get in. And you know, I say this now, the reason I'm so passionate about doing this, I had supportive parents. I could not speak to them. I couldn't even connect with them. The wall was built at a very early age. There was no way I was going, I could. They could see things weren't okay, but there was no way that I was going to allow them in. And I see this so often with youngsters. The wall has been built. And as much as both sides want to talk about this, it's not happening. I'm the neutral party. I don't have any of the history. If you want to tell me the history, absolutely, please share. I'd love you to, but you don't need to. Just show me who you are today. And that neutralizes so that we can have a conversation and start opening up those pathways of communication between the individual and the parents, because it all has to work as one. That's the end game, that we start the communication and there's an opportunity there. But I couldn't have spoken, and so often I speak to parents and they're almost waiting for me to blame or point. And this isn't anything that they've done wrong. I'm a parent myself. We can only do what we can do with what we've been given,
Right.
And we carry the baggage of our lives that went before us.
Yes.
So we're just doing our best. But sometimes it needs that neutral party to just have that conversation. And like I say, I've been there. I don't think there's anything that anybody has ever said that I can't, for good or bad, say, I get you, I hear you, I see you, and I feel it because I was there. So there's no shame.
So one of the things that you do on top of working with young people to help them see their value and be today instead of being so caught in the past or the future, is that you help the parents and the child to communicate in a different way so that they can actually help one another.
Yeah,
it's just right?
Really simply opening up those communication channels, connecting in, because quite often the parent is sat on a call. The workshops that I'm creating at the moment is very much having the parent being part of that process, so that you can talk about the experience together. It's kind of a neutral space to start, and then you're seeing the positives.
Yeah, that would have been great when my son was young, because he had some anger issues. He had these issues and that issues, and that wasn't me. I didn't have those kinds of issues. So I had no idea how to bridge that gap and to communicate with him. I could only communicate from my perspective, and it was very, very difficult. So it would have been great to have had your services back then. So if we could just go back in time a little bit and fix that would be great. But of course we can't, but we can maybe help others going forward that might be having the same situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I've worked with people that have kids that are on the autism spectrum. I've worked with kids with depression, anxiety, you name it. Difficult children that I'm being told no, that they're not going to sit on Zoom. They don't do that. And yet instantly there's a connection. It's just very, very different. I think so often when, as parents, when you just see your children as they are, and we're seeing what we don't know, what we're talking about, what we don't want. That's the language we're using. Please don't do this. Don't forget that.
Yes.
It's all
instead of remember.
Instead of remember, and I'm the same, even with my 7-year-old, you have to just keep practicing, keep doing your best. But in a neutral space, you get the opportunity to just I think there's no better of a gift to say, you show me who you are today. I know, I don't care how you got here or why you're here. I'm just so blessed you're here. And suddenly they're listening, because it's not about the story that they're bringing. They don't have to explain themselves. They don't have to go through that feeling of shame. And explanation, and then have an adult tell them again what they should do or shouldn't do. We're not talking about that.
Or what your problem is.
Or what your problem is, or any of that, or my advice is, we're not doing any of that. Let's just get excited about who you are today. Let's just do that.
So I'm just trying to wrap my head around the whole thing, because it sounds amazing. And I will say that all the times that we've talked, I didn't really understand a lot of this stuff. So thank you for sharing this on such a great way. But what actually, I know you said that some of the young adults that you're working with may have been in trouble or whatever. So what brings them to you? Is it they got in trouble and then the court says, this, you've got to get some counseling, you got to get something, and that's how they come to you typically? Is that right?
They get referred to the organization that I work for, with regards to that. Or their families are reaching out for support directly. Like I say, what I would love, because I just truly believe that if you're moving from middle school to high school, wouldn't that be a great opportunity to be able to connect in with what you have got? So you're going in with confidence and the surety that you're ready. Yeah. And then you're just building from there. When you transition from high school into college, the same thing. Let's reevaluate what you have got, because if you can imagine a tree, you're building your circles of experience, your trunk. So often when life moves too quickly that we miss all these amazing things. And then when somebody's looking to then transition from college into work, maybe, or maybe it's high school into work, they have no clue what they have to offer, because they've forgotten about all of the experience that they can utilize to get them there. So yes, so for me, it's I'm currently building workshops to be able to deliver in these facilities so that everybody has an opportunity. Because again, when we were talking a little about suicide, wouldn't it be fantastic if we could spot anybody? And I know teachers go through training to be able to spot behavioral training, and you obviously got the counselors on site. It's still happening. It's an epidemic in this country.
Yes. And younger and
States.
Younger. That's the
younger
really,
and younger.
I mean, it's not good at any age, but I mean, it just seems like it would be so preventable if we could just figure out what the link is, what the actions are that we can spot, and I would say with the teacher training, it's probably good, but I would say it's probably still very minor in comparison to what we need to see.
Absolutely. And I think that because of the problem with social media and just the world we live in today, it's very easy to tap into what you have not got and compare against everybody else out there. Because let's be honest, everybody else looks like they've got it sussed.
Yes. On social media, it certainly does.
Especially on social media. Oh my goodness, you can't see, I always imagine that swan that looks beautiful along the water and the feet are pedaling, that's really what life is about. But because of that, they're just overwhelmed by what their lack. Every child. And then you add to that a global pandemic. And then you add to that the news. Now, you must watch the news. Well, how depressing can that be? Like literally, there's no good in the news. I wish we had the good news, and I would tune into that every day. But that's what we need to make that. We need to make that. We do, because there's so much amazing stuff happening. And once this is these are generations that are literally plugged in from day one. So whatever they're clicking on, they just get fed more and more and more. So they're in this downward spiral. So to be able to connect in with what they have, which is what is good. And I'm not talking about just positive. I'm talking about the good, the bad, the downright ugly, the stuff that we don't want anybody to hear, stuff that we're really shamed about. Maybe that's that boyfriend, maybe that's drink, maybe that's the drugs that you took, whatever it is, whatever's going on at home, all those secrets. actually, what would it be like if you could understand that those secrets could be your gifts? They could be the reason that you're here to change this world. They could be what's given you the new perspective to ask a question that changes the world, create something that changes the world, talk to someone that changes the trajectory. How do you say that?
Trajectory.
I can't say it. That changes that person's life, which changes the world. You know, if these youngsters could understand that these things could be that, then there's a reason to be here. And we're not going out to find it. You know, so that will come in time. But there's a reason today to be here. And that's not just those in distress and at harm. That's every single child needs to know that. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. And they're seeing, and we're listening. You know, we're here as a supportive adult that you show me who you are. And it's truly incredible when I've gone in classrooms and I've spoken to youngsters that I'm being told, you know, really almost like don't expect much. They then turn up talking about the goals that they want to set, their dreams that they haven't spoken to anybody about, because why have dreams when you're in a place that nobody believes those dreams could come true? They're raising, you know, college leaflets, flyers to me saying, look, I'm thinking about doing this for the first time ever. Or you have a 12-year-old that says, really, do we have to stop? I would like this to keep going, you know? So there's a real need for that neutral space to be.
Yes, talking about expectations and what their people say, you know, don't even bother or whatever, is that brings me to a thought of, and I know you probably, with your background, you probably know this about the study they did where they had the classroom that was the troubled kids that everybody thought was stupid. Yes. And then they told the teachers that this was the gifted classroom, and they ended up being very, very gifted at the end because they thought they were. Yes. So people usually meet our expectations, whether it is on a high level or a low level. And so that it's really cool that, you know, that you help them see that the level is up here. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm the person that says, well, why not? Don't give me the excuse that because of how I look on the exterior, I can't, because of where I live, I can't. Why not? Tell me why not?
Yeah,
I didn't come from anything. You know, I had 2 working class parents. You know, they did their best for me. You know, I've come from England and I'm now sitting in America. Why did that happen? Because we had a crazy idea that it might be fun to go and look for work abroad. That's how it happens. We stepped towards it and we kind of followed the path, and you know, years later, here we are. So if I can do that, I didn't come because I had loads of money. Oh my goodness, I wish. You know, I didn't come because, you know, I was promised anything. We came because why not?
Yeah.
What have we got to lose? If you step in and you try it, the worst that's going to happen is I can go back. Am I going back as a failure? No, because at least I did it. There's millions of people that are sat in England saying, oh, no, wouldn't that be great? And I thought, why not? And that's why we're here. So why not? Why can you not work in that city? Just because the people before you haven't managed? So maybe you're that person. And it's interesting when you say, you know, you wish somebody had been like around like this for you. Well, I spent probably 30 years thinking, why is this not happening? Why is this not available in schools? Why are people coming as I'm recruiting them and they don't understand how amazing they are? Why am I sat in an interview when I was working in senior HR trying to pull all this information this is nothing to do with the interview. This is me knowing, having worked in retail, having waitress, having done all these crazy jobs, that you've got more to offer. And I'm trying desperately for you to show the manager, I shouldn't be doing that, but that's what I was doing. And I just thought, why is there someone not doing that? And you know what? I realized recently, maybe that's me. Why, when you're asking that question,
Yes.
Why is that not happening?
Mm-hmm.
Take a moment and think, okay, maybe that might be me that has to do that.
Yes.
When you're as a child, a young adult playing the game maybe, and you think, oh, why doesn't it do that? Maybe you're the one that's going to create that part of the game. Yeah. When you're sat having a meal or you're listening to music, oh, why don't they do? Maybe you're the one that's meant to take that bit of piece of music and add that why not to it. Because if there's something missing, that's your gap. And maybe that's your purpose. Maybe that's your thing. But if you're noticing it, if you notice it once and you ignore it, fine. If you notice it like me, like a crazy person for 30 years, then you need a kick. So I want to get in there early. I want to get to the young adults early and say, why not?
So what was your kick that brought you out of the 30 years of
coming to America?
Okay.
It was coming to America. I worked, like I say, my work history, I started in retail management. I then moved into recruitment, and then I moved into HR for 20 something years. When I came to America with my now husband, I wasn't allowed to work for 3.5 years because we weren't married, couldn't have a visa. And then there were loads of issues. And then COVID happened. So everything is shut down. So I was not allowed to work. When I first got here, it's the first time in my life that I haven't worked crazy around the clock hours. And I just thought, okay, now what do I do? And I had to really, literally, it's like the universe had taken everything away. I wasn't initially able to volunteer, so I couldn't get myself all busy with that because I had they couldn't do a security check. I had to really be quiet with myself and for the first time think, okay, maybe now's the time I have to be that person. Stop saying why not and just do it. And that's what I started doing. So the moment I got here, I started working for free. I was building resumes. I was coaching individuals. I was coaching youngsters that I knew to create a successful future. And that just kind of built slowly over time. And I realized that had I have got my visa, I probably would have jumped back into recruitment, taken the easy road and HR. And let's be honest, I wasn't particularly happy in those roles because I spent more time trying to get the best and do what I wanted to do. But this gave me the opportunity to just step in and say, actually, what is it that my heart truly needs to be doing? Where is my passion? And that niggle came straight back to me. The niggle from when I first started in retail and was recruiting for people and thought, well, why are you not telling me what I know is there? And that's what started me on this path. So I thank the US government for not giving me my visa. Although at the time I was a little annoyed. I'll be honest, it was not a comfortable road because literally everything I truly believed I was stripped away. I had run for a lifetime away from who I was. When I got to America, I could not run anymore. I had to stop. I had to be quiet with myself. I had to find out who I was. I had an opportunity to start afresh and be who I wanted to be. And I had to get real and honest. Really, really real and honest. And that was tough. It was really tough. And it still continues. Let's be honest. I would love to say, and then we live happy ever after. But we all know as we peel the onion, more comes. And I'm just so excited to have been able to, take this journey, take this opportunity. But the why not question, it's interesting, I'm saying that a lot, is one that's always been there. Why not try this? Why not do that? I'm not saying all of those why nots have been the best decisions of my life, but
nobody's have.
Nobody's have. But why not? When someone says to me, I'd love to do this sort of work, but I can't because I don't have the experience, well, why not? By the time we've looked through their resume, I guarantee they've got the experience because you just have to change the language of your resume. If a youngster's telling me that they can't do, or they're worried that they don't have a future because they have anxiety, depression, and they think they're on the autism spectrum somewhere, why wouldn't you have a future? You're here today. Why wouldn't you be here tomorrow? Why not use your strengths, focus on your strengths and your abilities that come as a result of all those things? That's the key. Utilize your strengths, as that come with those labels, because they come with strengths. If you're anxious, and I was very depressed, not that I would have been, I never went to a doctor to, but I was very depressed. Well, when you're depressed, and it means you're very, very sensitive. So you have a connection and empathy. You can feel a room. So many gifts are coming from this. You can connect with people at a different level. You have a quietness maybe to you, or observer. So you have talents that are sat there just waiting to be tapped into. Right. So why not use those? Let's connect with those and focus on those, not the depression. Because when you're focusing on those, the depression does this. Yes. It moves, it shifts.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like, when a child gets their report card, typically the parent, and not to say that anybody's wrong, because I probably did the same damn thing, but instead of saying, oh my gosh, you got this, this, and this, and this, oh, thank goodness, great job and everything, they look at the one that is bad. And then they say, but you've got to bring this one up. You've got to do this,
Absolutely.
And so I think we tend to do that in a lot of areas, especially with kids, because we feel like we're trying to teach them to be better and everything. But what we're in actuality doing is picking out their flaws, or perceived flaws, and shining a light on it, instead of shining a light on the gifts and stuff like you're talking about. And so as parents, we do that. And I know when I was a child, when I had a lot of responsibilities as a young adult, helping to take care of my brother and my sister, and, tend to the house and do these things while my parents were working. And I remember, and I hope my mom doesn't see this, but I remember, I remember a time when, I would clean house, and I was probably only like 12 or 13, and I'm taking care of my younger brother and sister, and, and I'm doing all these things. And when my mom came in, instead of saying, wow, you cleaned house and everything, she noticed the one thing I forgot. The one thing that I didn't do. And it may not have happened a lot, because, as kids, we internalize it where it's a big thing, and suddenly we feel like it happened all the time.
Yes.
So it may have only happened once, but as a child, it was big. And so it's kind of that thing, is that to learn to hone in on the things that are accomplished and the things that they can do, instead of pointing out the things that they didn't.
Yeah, there's a way around that. And I think so often we're looking for those big things. So for me, it's actually about recognizing the teeny tiny, celebrating the teeny tiny things. Because again, when you think about celebration, me and my little boy, we have a yay me jar to celebrate the teeny tiny things in life. When we think of celebrating self-love, lots of people think, well, certainly young people are like, what? Oh, I have to go and have a massage, or get my hair done. All these things that cost money, go buy this shirt or these shoes. Well, they don't have the money. So how's that going to work? Well, actually, if you're celebrating the teeny tiny, so let's think for a moment, okay, of the steps. Now, as a mum, if I go upstairs to my little boy's room, okay, I've got a plan of what I'm doing. Okay, I've just gone to pick up something, maybe a t-shirt. But on the way down, you tidied this, you've moved that, you've picked up this, you've emptied that, you've scooped up a few other things, you've answered the phone. So you've got all these teeny tiny steps that by the time you've got down and forgotten the shirt, all you're thinking is, damn, didn't get the shirt. Okay, so you have to go. So you're already irritated, but you've forgotten about those teeny tiny moments of yay me, because I did 20 other things in the same amount of time. And that's what we do. Our lives are moving so quickly. So for these youngsters to think, okay, what is my goal? And it's not a goal like 6 years in advance. Today, like, what's a short-term goal that I could be doing that could move me just a teeny tiny bit, move me forward? If that is, I'm going to play less on my Xbox, say. I'm going to reduce it by, and this is what happens. I'll never play my Xbox. And I think, is that realistic? No. So we get to the point where they're going to reduce it. Reduce it by 10 minutes. If you just reduce it by 5, like, yeah, put it in the yay me jar. If you didn't reduce it at all, but you switched it off and nobody had to have a go at you, say anything and shout you, put a yay me in the yay me jar. If your mum shouted once and normally she's like screaming in your face because she said it so many times, she's lost the will to live, recognize that you listened this time, so you've moved a little bit further forward. Put it in the yay me jar. So it's celebrating the teeny tiny things, but the young person has to do that. And what I'll say to them is, I do not know the challenges that you had, even to get up and not press snooze. I don't know what that took. Only you know what that took. So you have to celebrate you. We can sit here and wait for somebody to see it in us. They can't read our minds.
Right.
They're not living our world. They don't even see our world like we see our world. So we can choose to sit here and wait, and it will be a long wait. Trust me, I've done it. It'll be a very, very long wait. Or we can think inside, do you know what? Yay me. I pressed snooze once and I got out of bed. Yay me. I picked my clothes up off the floor. Now, how cool would it be to just keep filling that up? And that's what I'm talking about. This is recognizing those little pieces of magic. And I think it's Hans Christian Andersen says that there are miracles surrounding us in this world. Unfortunately, we only see them as ordinary things now. So it's recognizing those ordinary as extraordinary, because those teeny tiny steps get you to that bigger place. Except we wait for the bigger place and then we go, yay me, for a split second, and we're on to the next thing.
Right.
You couldn't have got there if you hadn't have got up, put your socks on, got yourself dressed, got yourself out of the door. So celebrate doing that. That's where we start, and you have to do that for yourself. And seeing these young people have their little yay me jars and be thinking, like we're now, okay, we've had this call, what could you add in your yay me jar? And they've always got 1 or 2 things that just after an hour of speaking, they've recognized that they can, I sat here for an hour.
Yeah.
On screen. That's a yay me. I fully engaged. I answered a question. I responded, whatever it is. There is always a yay me. And like you say, too often we as adults, parents, teachers, we're looking for right and wrong. There's no black or white answers. Or we've got so much going on. We're focusing on what is not, what hasn't been done, what should have been done, what could have been done. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. So I am the opposite, but they have to take the responsibility themselves, because even at 13, 12, 13, 14, this is their life.
Well, we as adults need that constant reminder too. Actually, where I got my certification for my life and my health coaching and all, they have a saying. It says, small hinges swing big doors. So it's the little things that you do all the time that open doors and bring opportunities to you. And so it's the same type of thing, as being able to recognize the steps that it took to get to someplace, not that the place that you got to, but all the wonderful things that you experienced on the way.
Yes, so important. And it doesn't mean you have to spend money on you.
Right.
yay me, or like a pat on the back. You know,
Mhm.
when was the last time they really like patted themselves on the back, gave themselves a hug?
Yes.
You know, wrote when you write something down and you recognize on those days where you're struggling a bit, get them out, read them,
Mhm.
know that that's building, it's forever building.
Mhm.
And like I say, you're never starting from zero,
Right.
ever. And you're never, because they always say, you know, I always think Paula Abdul, you know, 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, or whatever she sings. Used to love that song. But it is absolutely that. You never go back to where you were.
Mhm.
You're always a
Because you're a
little
different
bit,
person.
you're a different person.
Yes.
You're always growing. You're always experiencing. You're always contributing. And that, you know, good, bad, and downright ugly in the bigger, when you look at it through your lenses, is positive.
Mhm.
There's a gift there. So let's
Right.
focus on the gift rather than the shame and the guilt. And let's focus on the positivity there, what you can bring from it. Yes, it's happened, because we're not ignoring that it's happened. It's
Mhm.
happened, but let's see how that moves you forward, because it does. If the biggest lesson I've learned, now I carried so much shame and guilt around with me, it enables me to do what I do now.
Mhm. Yes.
So that's pretty special,
Yes. I think
you
so.
know?
And I know for me, anytime when I look back and I think of something that might have happened that turned out different than what I was searching for with whatever action I was taking, I remind myself that those things, whether they turned out right or not, is actually what led me to where I'm at now. And I wouldn't be who I am without those lessons. And I like who I am now. So it's perfect. And you know, just really quick, because I know I don't have my watch on. I took it off so it wouldn't be buzzing at me. So I don't know where we are on time. But one of the things that's interesting to me is that there was a book I read recently, and it was actually in the Ripple Makers book club, and it is Dying to Be Me. Have you
Mm-hmm.
read it?
I have got it. No, I just got
Okay.
it.
Okay. But the thing in there is, for those who don't know about this book, it's really, really good. I did the audiobook. Um, but it's about a woman who has terminal cancer, and she actually passes away. She's in a coma. She passes away. She has a near death experience, and she comes back. And one of the things that she says in this book that I think is so profound is, as she gets further into the book, she says that she wouldn't trade having that cancer for anything. Even though she was in terrible pain, she had all these different things happening to her, is that it created in her something new, that she's able to come out and help people. And without that experience, she was very money driven, and she was working so many hours every day, and and that was her whole focus. But once this all happened to her, she became service focused, and she became a helper and seeing things in a totally different way. And that was really, really cool to hear, because I haven't had cancer, thank God. But even people who have horrific accidents or anything that happens, usually if they can get into a good place in their mind, they can find something good from it. Even um I, I'm trying to think, I swear I don't know why his name just went out of my head. But there was the guy who, his son was abducted and murdered, and he became an advocate for children. And I think it was Scott something, I can't remember, but he was very pivotal in creating a lot of things that helped children not be abducted. He could have, gone into a shell and just became a shell of a person and not had anything, but instead he created something good from it. And it was a horrible thing to go through, but something good came out of it. So I think we can always, if we can find a way, and maybe we need help with that, like you help
Mm-hmm.
these students know that things that may have not been of their choosing, things that might have been out of their control, that they can find something from it to change their lives and maybe others.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, hindsight's a wonderful thing. And it's
Mhm.
lovely to be sat here at 48 looking back and thinking, wow, I've got some stories to tell, you know, and but at the time it's very overwhelming, and you just have that why me, you know, another thing, layers and layers. To be able to say, if I could go back to my 13-year-old self, and I do often now, which is why I do what I do, and say, don't worry, okay, don't worry, that there's one path in life that's yours. Don't compare yourself. You can't. Everybody's at different places doing different things. And you know, even in the 13 years to get here, let's be honest, COVID, every single one of us experienced COVID in a completely different way. So how could we possibly compare ourselves to each other?
Right.
So live your path. Let's find out what that is. Yeah.
Yes.
And secondly, you know, there is no mistake so big that you can't come back from it. Yes, it may hurt. Yes, you may feel the guilt and the shame. You know, it's part of the process. But the only way that that exists, and I've been listening to Brené Brown's great listen, but she says the only way that that exists is if through the secret, you know, keeping it a secret. The shame just keeps bubbling there. If you talk about it, if you show yourself love for the fact that you recognize it was a mistake, but hey, you did what you did at the time, got through it, you're still standing. You can show yourself love and you can share that story, that shame will start to resolve itself. There is never a mistake that tips you so far that you can't come back.
Right.
There truly isn't. And that you have amazingness inside. Each and every one of us, regardless of what's got to us, you know, where we've been, what we've done. Actually, if we truly looked at our experiences, our growth, and our contribution to this date, our life story is incredible. When you think of the twists and the twirls, you know, the people that came in and have left, the people that are still here, the learnings, the understanding, the hindsight lessons and gifts that even as a youngster that you have, it's pretty incredible. And if you're watching this and you're here today, you're just able to literally draw a line in the sand and build from that place. That's your tapestry of awesomeness. How exciting is it to be thinking about that?
Definitely. So with that, how do people reach out to you?
They can reach out. I have my email address, which is info@successfulfuturesacademy.com. I'm on Facebook, Michelle McKown Campbell. I have a group, which is 2B on Facebook, and I'm on LinkedIn, Michelle McKown Campbell. So any of those ways that you want to reach out, or you can reach out to Vicky and she can connect us.
Yes.
So one of those ways.
Yes. This has been so eye-opening, and I've just loved this experience. I really, really have. You are just a gift. And so I want, when we get off here, I want you to share that information with me so that I can post it in the comments after when I post this out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thank you so much. I
you.
just can't say that enough. And it's just made my day better.
Oh, bless you. It's been a joy. It's been a joy to have the opportunity to speak. And yeah, please, if I could ask your listeners, your viewers, just before you press close on this, write 3 things that make you who you are today. Just do that. 3 extraordinary things. And they can be the tiniest things, but they are extraordinary. And thank you, Vicky.
Perfect. All right. Bye-bye.